Yeah, I speak to Mr. Lifford, please.
Ready? Is it on?
All the way live.
Good afternoon. My name
Give him a
is...
chance to check in. Hello? Okay, make sure you're straight for me.
Yes, sir.
Got all your stuff straight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just need to speak loud and strong right here. You live.
Good afternoon. My name is Commissioner Franklin Malone. I'm the CEO of the 100 Fathers Incorporated. We are certified, licensed master trainers. We specialize in the information, education, and destination that our people need from fathers. I want to read you a statement before I get started with this class that's going to lead to certification for those who are eligible. We envision an America where all Black fathers and male caregivers are knowledgeable, prepared to make positive choices, and where all Black boys have a relationship with either their biological father or a father who is capable of helping them to learn each stage of their development. The systematic hindrances to sustaining parental relationships can be mitigated, and Black fathers will be capable of leading our children and families, which will be a vital step in keeping the next generation of Black children on the path to positive futures. The 100 Fathers is an award-winning organization. We have been around for at least 10 years. We started in the streets of the ghettos of Alexandria at the Family Resource Learning Center. There, myself and a few other responsible fathers had the Family Resource Center. These were the families of the movie Remember the Titans. As we worked with the young kids, young girls and young boys, they began to believe in us, and they showed their belief in what we were saying by scoring the highest scores in Alexandria on their standard of learning exams. But that only shows the power of positive fatherhood on a child. From there, we got awards from Harris Teeter, McDonald's, different other groups, wanted to understand how it is that these Black men had such a positive effect on these young children, especially during the time of drugs and gangs and violence and shooting. These kids superseded and overcame the odds with the guidance of fathers and men who showed them love, connection, engagement, enlightenment, positive spiritual generation, empowerment. Today, I'm going to introduce you to some different concepts of fatherhood that have been lost, purposely left out, and just forgotten. The father is probably one of the most important members of the community, the school, and the family, because he brings three things. He's available, he's affirming, and he's authentic. Those three things define what a modern day father, especially a Black father, should be. I want you to understand that our role is critical if the next generation of children is to be led to positive and successful outcomes. I want to share with you first the research that brings us to this point. I'm sharing with you the barriers and solutions to the 21st century fatherhood movement. What's important about this is that we got to understand how and why we got here. And there is a breakdown in the system of what we need to do. The first is there are legislative barriers that prevent Black men from seeing their children, that prevent us from having shared parenting, that prevent us from walking up in a school as a father and spending time with our child. And these have to be changed. They're not only changed by social work, they have to be changed by legislation. I'm pleased to say that the 100 Fathers has created the Commission for Fathers, Men, and Boys. This is the blueprint. No matter what city that you might be from, you can get this blueprint for your city. We have devised a way that the mayor, the city council, and the members of your city can put funds and positive men and positive resources in the areas of fatherhood, men, and boys. And so we've already started that in Washington, D.C. I understand Ohio has a great commission going. We started another one in Prince George's County, Maryland. And we want you to reach out to us so that you can start one in your city. But there are also problems with educational pursuits. Educational pursuits are important because when our young men go to school and they don't see me, it's hard for them to be me. We need new laws. We need to enact to stop the unnecessary incarceration of our young men with the pipeline to prison type of education that they're getting. There needs to be a way to address systematic bias in those who are going to school, who need resources. We want to address the gatekeepers who don't allow fathers visitation or to be with their children. There's a way that this can be done, but you need a plan and a strategy. You need an education and training. There's lack of qualified teachers for young boys. The program we have is designed to give you rites of passage. I understand that Union Temple and Union Temple Baptist Church in D.C., Reverend Willie Wilson has been doing rites of passage for the past 8 years. But that needs to be something that is all over the United States. Rites of passage teaches a young man that he has to transition into manhood. You don't just become a man. You start at a male, become a boy, and then become a man. There's a lack of an effective strategy also in the schools for graduating Black males. That's why you need to be certified to do your rites of passage empowerment in the school so that you can grab these young men, teach them, and train them. How do you do that? With 5 simple things: love, connection, engagement, enlightenment, which leads to empowerment. In some schools, they don't allow you to talk about God. So we live a life that shows what God is doing in our life so that they can want it in their life. Besides the solutions in education, there are also re-entry and ex-offender renewed citizen issues. What is to happen to, there are 2 million people that are incarcerated, but an inordinate number are Black people. Because of the institutional biases, because of bias altogether, many of our people are locked up in the system, but they have children. We advocate that many of the young men and the fathers that are coming out get fatherhood training. But how can you train somebody if you don't have the tools to do it? It says in my Bible, study to show thyself approved. And so that's what we're doing there. We're setting you up to be able to get the information, the training, and the understanding that you might be able to touch another person's life and change it for the better. We need to look at greater access to expungement, states needing access to bonding and tax credits. There's no reason why these fathers who are called returning citizens cannot be bonded or in a tax credit program, which would be a great opportunity for them to work. And so we ask that you try to be a part of making that happen. Then there are health concerns. Last week, we marched with men from the District of Columbia and took a look at the #1 killer of men in the DMV is prostate cancer. Men, our health is important. There's no need for me to do this training. If your health is bad, you haven't addressed those problems. You have to understand that men need to go to the doctor. And so there have to be ways for us to get checked, to get preventive medicine. Do you know that the federal government in 2015 spent over $850 billion on the health of Black men who waited till it was too late to go to the doctor, and therefore it costs a lot of money? Where do I get my information from? From the American Psychological Association, our partners, who are one of the top research agencies in the nation. And then finally, family, marriage, cohabitation, and relationships. We have got to stop teaching that it's okay just to live with a woman. There's nothing wrong with the woman that you marry. Marriage is honorable in men. This is not a try on, buy on. We want you to understand the importance of women in your life. And sometimes we miss that. And so we try to instill in our young men the importance and responsibility of having a responsible relationship. Why? Because the children need you. There are also godfathers and grandfathers and stepfathers, but you're still fathers. And the responsibility for you is to be available, authentic, and affirming at all times. That is what's important in the Black father. And that is what we will be teaching. Then there are the issues of housing and homelessness. How can a father be a father if he doesn't have anywhere to live to visit with his children? We advocate Oxford type of housing in all of the cities across the nation. An Oxford house is a place where they help you to find a job, give you a place to live, and you live there and pay rent. Get you started on your own opportunity to own property, to live in a place, and also to try to visit with and have a place to bring your children to. As well, it's an opportunity for positive men in the community to come in and share and bolster what these men trying to work back are doing. What about some Oxford housing? And in public housing regulations, let's take a look at that. A lot of people ask, well, how do we get separated from our women? Well, we had a system that said that the women can all the time keep men from coming in. As a matter of fact, it was said that if you allow a man to come in and live with you, then unfortunately, you have to move out. What kind of system is that? They really were absent of the fact that it's important for you and for them to have that relationship with your family. And so now we're trying to understand the effects of women raising children without a man present. And we can correct that with positive men in the community, the positive men in the church. Then there are also legal issues. Funding needs to be available for low-cost legal services for men, to get visitation, to stop unneeded harassment in trying to get their children. The latest research says that Black men want to be with their children. As a matter of fact, in 2016, look it up, the Pew Research indicated that the Black man was the best of all fathers, because even in all of the circumstances that he goes through, he still has been chosen as one who loves his children and attempts to spend time with them. The CDC corroborates that, and the American Psychological Association corroborates that. So we need to understand our effect as men on our children and the importance of us to be in their lives. Then there's the spiritual-based issues and solutions. The faith-based community needs to increase its involvement in helping fathers through economic grants and spiritually based counseling. We've been in all the churches, and we understand that it's important. You might want them to come to Jesus, or you might want to bring them into the mosque, or you might want to go somewhere else. Wherever you go, you have to establish a relationship with that man as to where he is. And what's important is we train people in the church, doesn't matter what religion, so that they can connect with these men and give them a rope to hold on to help pull them up. And that's what Fatherhood Certified Training does. Now, I just wanted to give you a layout for what we're doing and for how we get this work done. I'm reading some of the questions on the side, and I also want you to measure, you're right, you do have to measure the benefit of public education of our children in the public service sector. That's a good point, because a lot of that, if they haven't taught about the transatlantic Holocaust, the Moors, and how they built housing and castles all over Europe, what happened in Spain, what about the pyramids, what about the Coptic church? The first church, our kids don't even know, was a Black church. Come on, we have to teach the history of the world as it really was, and not as it has been told to us. Incidentally, Jesus was a Black man. Look it up. And so it's about love, it's about respect, but it's also about knowledge. As a matter of fact, I want to give you the 12 duties of a father according to the book known as the Bible. I want to share that with you right now. Number one, it says that a father must love. Without love, a father cannot be a father. He must command. He must have the prerogative with specific authority to deserve and receive respect. He must instruct. Instructor is one who imparts knowledge to his children. He must guide and warn. In Thessalonians, it speaks that is to lead and direct past the pitfalls of life. He must train. He must educate and prepare his children. He must rebuke. He must take sharp disapproval of what is wrong with his children. He must restrain. He must learn to control, check, and hold his children back from action that could destroy them. There's times when he must punish, not reward wickedness, but always remember forgiveness. He must chasten. That means he must correct and morally improve. He must nourish. That means he has to give growth to his children and family. He must supply the needs of, and that means to provide for and satisfy with provisions. And finally, he must not provoke. And that means not to aggravate, incite, or annoy. Every single one of these duties is found in what's called the Bible. How you interpret it depends on the interpreter. But this is the layout that's already there for you as to what a real father must do and who he must be. I'd be happy to share those with you at another time online. Next, I want to talk to you about the 100 Fathers. The 100 Fathers have 8 essential values. First, we partnership. We seek to collaborate on ideas and initiatives that will best serve the needs of our community. We seek results. We're committed to having long-term, measurable impact on people's lives. We seek to address root causes, and we realize that requires us to address issues at multiple levels. Learning. We continuously strive to build our knowledge and expertise to benefit ourselves and our community. On that, we write books. We've written 30 to 40 op-eds. We write in the newspaper, and we continue to bring the latest research on fatherhood and men to the forefront. Diversity. We support people of different backgrounds working together as peers to address shared concern. And we encourage sustained relationships and greater understanding. Excellence. We challenge ourselves to do the best work that can be done. Adaptability. We willingly meet the changing needs of our community. And finally, respect. We treat everyone with respect. Those are the 8 essential values that the 100 Fathers Inc. goes by. I suggest when you put your fatherhood organization together, you might want to borrow these and implement these. Now, we're finding our way, but we got to understand the game. Economic castration times miseducation equals violence every time. The diagnosis is reactionary masculinity syndrome. This is taken from Dr. Amos Wilson, one of the foremost psychologists on Black children. You see, a lack of manhood, a lack of respect, a need for power, negative fatherhood influence, and racial discrimination equals incarceration. If the father is the missing ingredient, it's always time for a failure. That's why we're developing men, a cadre of men. It's not going to be everybody. The salt of the earth is who we're reaching out to. You know, if you take some salt and you put it in some meat and you cook that meat, it only takes a little bit of salt to change the whole flavor of the meal. And so it's not going to be everybody that's going to take this message. But those who do will be empowered to change the flavor, to change the outlook, and to change the color of the school, the community, and the family with positive, with inside information, and with the highest training that a man can receive in order that he can touch the lives of other men. And how do we do that? With accountability. When men hold other men accountable, it changes the way that they act. And so that's why we're doing this training, so that you can have the information you need to set up fatherhood groups, to be able to talk to another man who might be going in an errant direction and bring him back. The one thing our community needs is healing, and we are the healing force. They say music is a healing force, and it is. But the environment of men reaching out to other men and young men, changing their paradigm, changing their trajectory, is what's going to change the next generation for the better. On that note, I want to turn to the 21st century fatherhood model. This is a model that the 100 Fathers developed ourselves. It has been presented to the United States Congress. We're one of the few groups that have been asked to come before the United States Congress and present our fatherhood initiative. It involves relationships, health, prevention, education, employment, returning citizens, housing, homelessness, veteran fathers, fatherhood facilitation, spiritually based initiatives, legislation, and legal issues. That is the 21st century fatherhood movement. You can bite off a piece of it, but that doesn't change the look of the entirety of it. We've been to the United States Congress to pass legislation. We've been to the State House in Virginia, the State House in Maryland, and we have written briefs trying to influence legislation for shared parenting, which will allow fathers a 50-50 acquisition of being with their children. Why should a father have to be a visitor in the first place? Children need you more than ever. Children are leaving the home. They're not graduated from school. They need the love, the understanding, the availability, and the affirmation of a father. And it's time for us to step up, speak up, and be involved with our children and families. And with the certification that we have for you, you'll be able to do that and more. Let me talk about our next look. The next look that you're going to start out with is to be a facilitator. In order to be a fatherhood facilitation trainer, you must understand what facilitation is. That means you don't come in talking up to people or talking down to people. You have to be a neutral individual. And we're looking for presenters and facilitators. Now, there's two ways which we suggest incorporating presenters. The key is using outside preventers or facilitators effectively in choosing people who are comfortable with themselves and knowledgeable and articulate about the information they're about to present. In saying that, you need to check yourself. The first person that you need to check on is, who am I? And what type of facilitator would I be? You have to be able to adjust to varying literacy levels. You have to have...
You got questions? See your questions?
Yes.
All right, so you can answer them at your
All right. But look, the camera's not...
Hold on one second. Camera going?
Okay.
All right. All the way live.
Okay.
All right.
The curriculum facilitation that we're going to go through, the key is working successfully with groups. All right? Necessary leadership qualities. Your leadership qualities have to be intact for you to lead a group. We work with men who are going into prison, coming out of prison, in the community, in the church, in the schools, on the streets, and in the suites. Because all men can be a better man with the right information. And so once we have you trained, we want you to be an accountable facilitator of men.
Teach.
It's necessary that you have leadership skills, qualities. What are these qualities? You must have the ability, first of all, to operate in an atmosphere that is conducive to learning. The 100 Fathers incorporates a special learning style. It's called the experiential level of learning. Anybody can learn it, but you have to be able to teach it. Experiential learning consists of being in an environment that you want to learn in. It allows an open dialogue with the people that you're with. It also allows for questions and answers. And right now, I'm going to take a couple of questions. And Darlene Bullops says, that their children are not being successful in the public service sector. Absolutely. That's why we're trying to integrate our services in the school, in the church, and in the institutions. I've been called by several prisons, community groups, to bring my certified master trainers to them so that they can teach and facilitate groups. We don't want to do all the teaching. We want to train the next generation. So as one touches one can increase the knowledge and change the paradigm for our children and families. Now, what are the roles of this facilitator? I want you to listen closely and make sure that you match up with what we're looking for. First of all, we want you to be a role model. You can't say it and not do it. You have to live it and be it. The first thing that young men in one school we went to, the first thing we asked them was, what is a man? And they had all kinds of different answers about what a man was. They said, a man is somebody make a baby. Then another one said, well, a man is, you a man when you go get a job, you come back, give your mother some money. Another one said, you're a man when you can go to the club. Jeez. We said, that is not what a man is, and none of us are that person. And after a while, they began to see from our example as role models, being consistent with our message and coming back. They begged for us to come back. And the reason is they need engagement, they need love, and they need the connection from another man. They need to see how we talk, how we walk, how we feel, how we touch. That is the transition from a boy to a man. Now, the next thing that a facilitator will have to be is a teacher, coach, trainer. I wish I had my daughter here. My daughter is a strength trainer. She's in Denver, Colorado, but I'm getting ready to bring her back when we open up our office in Prince George's County. She has the ability to see the strengths of an individual and work that way. Find out what you're good at and use that to bring you into the facilitation of fatherhood. What does that mean? That means you need to understand when to go in, when to come back out, when to talk, when to listen. You need to understand what kind of message you're sending by the way that you sit, by the way that you act, and by the way that you talk. You have to understand what modulation is, where you modulate up or you modulate down, depending on the situation that you're addressing. Then you must be a learner. Don't ever think that once you get some information that you know it all. We learn more from the young men at Phelps High School at our rites of passage than we would have learned in a lifetime. They picked the right answers and added to them, and they had a lot to share. And so you have to be able to continue to learn. In this business, it continues to change. And so it's important that you change with it, that you find the information you need, that you give it out, and you continue to learn the best to be excellent. You can never think that you know it all, because the time that you think that, the knowledge has passed you by. Then you must be caring adult. Nobody wants to be with anybody who doesn't care. That's why our first principle is love. Don't come up in there like you're going to teach my kids and you don't really love them. Kids know when they first get in your aura, they feel you and they understand whether or not you care or not. And so you have to project out that you're sincere, that you care, and that you're going to help someone. You can't speak out of one side of your mouth and then out of the other. You must be consistent, affirming, and honest about how you feel. The next is you must be a good listener. Now, what we teach in listening is listening has to be active. There's an active listener that When a person is talking, they shake their head, they look at the person, they open to the person, and they let that person know that they actually are involved with what they're saying. That is a facilitator with excellent skills. Then you have to be a cultural translator. That means there's some people who may have a different area of communication. They may not be able to articulate fully what it is that they like to say. And so maybe you might need to help them to say it. Or there have been times when I've had different preachers I've been around who have a heavy accent, which means that you have to listen even more intently. That doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about. That means that you've turned off the listening mechanisms that would allow that communication to flow. The next, you have to be an opener of doors. What does that mean? That's a person that shares knowledge, information, and resources. No fatherhood facilitator should ever walk into a group and not know what's happening in that community. For example, today, when I came up the street, there was a career fair. They're giving out jobs on Rhode Island Avenue in DC right now. And I called 10 people and said, tell somebody else. They're hiring on the spot. This is what we have to do. Be an opener of doors. Be a purveyor of resources. And be a purveyor of good information. Next, you have to be an empowerment advocate. What does that mean? You have to demonstrate a belief in boys and men that they can succeed. No general walks into a war thinking he's going to lose and fights that battle. And that's the same thing with us today. We know we will win because we're still here. God has left us here for the purpose of three things: learning to collaborate better, to unify for strength, and also to be authentic about who we are. We can no longer live a life saying that we're somebody else when we're God's people who've been chosen to come together. But in doing so, I'm an Omega. I'm with the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And several times I walk into Kappas and Sigmas and different. It doesn't mean a thing if we're not all together joining this fight to get our families and children a better way of life. And so, in essence, there can be no division. Unity is strength. The more that we're divided, the less strength that we have. And it's written that a house divided amongst itself will not stand.
Teach.
So we have to stand in this house and be together. If a brother is not doing what's right, we want a man that's accountable to walk up on him and tell him, hey, brother, that's not acceptable. Let's talk about this. That's what we as fathers and men have to do. Why? Because we have children and families, and we're not going to allow anyone to treat them any other way but the right way. That's why we do Man the Block in the city, to let the community know that the fathers and men are on the street with our kids, and we're going to protect our kids. That's why when DC had 588 murders, our groups came together, the Muslims, the Christians, the brothers in the community leaders. We all came together and fought that battle together and reduced it down to 88. So don't tell me that we can't make it happen. We have to come together as empowerment advocates. Then you have to be a reality checker. There's sometimes when you have to look at different things, objectives that you're trying to reach, you have to be real. A lot of times people make assumptions about things that are not right, and you have to call them out on that. How you do it, where you do it, and when you do it is up to you, but you must do it. You must be a reality checker. And finally, if you have a group and you do get the opportunity, say you have a group of 5 or 10 men, and you get certified and now you're working, you have to be able to manage that group. And you have to be able to manage the group process. The generation of change is not going to occur with no 150 people making a change. It's going to happen one person at a time. And the facilitator, the trained master trainer, and the fatherhood facilitator is going to be a part of that process, because we're going to be holding men accountable. We're going to be empowering them with information, resources, opportunities, services, and supports. That's what's going to happen when we get out there and touch the lives of the men and the boys that we will service. And how will we do that? With the foundational information that stands like a rock, the truth. Now, there are some group facilitation techniques that you will learn. First of all, be prepared. Don't ever show up to a group and you haven't read your information, study to show yourself approved. Don't ever walk into a group and you don't have information for them to share. That's like walking into a hungry horde of people, telling them you're going to feed them and coming with nothing. People want to eat of this type of bread. This is the bread of truth, of character. The foundation of their life is embedded in you, and you have to share that with them to empower them. Then you must know the people in your group. Once you get a group, you need to learn their names. You need to learn their tendencies. You need to learn their middle name. I heard there was a teacher that was so good that when his students came in, he knew their first, middle, and last name. Now that's a teacher who wants to be a part of what he's teaching. He's taking some time to show me that he cares about me. You want to encourage group discussions. That is experiential learning, giving a person an opportunity to bounce off of you what they think. Remember, we don't know all the answers. And some of the answers, some of these great inventors and writers and presidents that you're bringing up certainly have to have an opportunity to share their wisdom, their knowledge, and their information. And so you have to gauge how much they can share, and you have to be strategic on how you move the dime. And we'll show you that. You also have to give clear and concise instructions. Don't say it's over there. Say it's at such and such a place, at such and such an address, at such and such a time. You must be clear, concise with your information. You also have to assist in understanding what occurs in the group, because once you get a group, it will become its own individual. A group becomes its own life, and they begin to hold each other accountable. I've been in groups where guys say, well, look, I'm going to go out here and do this tomorrow. They say, no, you're not, brother. If you need some help, call me. I'll be there for you. The accountability of men is going to be what changes the next generation. And we want you to step up with the right information, education, and destination. And we have it for you. Then you must attend to the group. When you attend to the group, that means that you're giving listening skills, you're teaching how to pay attention to what people are saying, you're acknowledging what they're saying, you're affirming what they're saying, and you're keeping the group moving. And they, in turn, are watching you and learning how to do what you do. You have to keep the pace of. Once you get a group, it'll only be for a certain amount of time. Usually you run a group for an hour, hour and a half, might be too long. People learn the first 15 minutes. What you have to do is keep it exciting, interactive, keep them moving, keep things going, that the learning capacity of the individuals you're with can be gauged, and you have to pace that as the facilitation group leader. You have to use effective language. Don't come in cussing and fussing. Come in with appropriate language that people are not harmed by what you say, but are healed by what you say. It's written that the tongue is the most powerful organ in the body. It can either tear people down or it can build them up. And as a facilitator, you have the ability to build people up, to affirm them, and to bring them to a high level of understanding about who they are, whose they are, and where we're going to take it to next. You must also be approachable and unshockable. There are going to be some things that's going to happen. There's going to be some emergency that's going to occur. But it's important that you stay neutral, remain unshockable, remain approachable at all times. Somebody might say something, no. Be open, invited, keep it appropriate, but don't be a person that cuts people off, because that could cut them off for the rest of the group. You have to be able to have strategic language that says, listen, I understand what you're saying. I'm going to get back with you shortly. Thank you for sharing. That's what a facilitator would do. Then you also have to be yourself. Remember, I told you the 3 principles of fatherhood. First, you have to be available. Then you have to be affirming. But most importantly, you have to be authentic. And authentic fathers, they do certain things. Fathers sometimes have to tell a joke about the chicken that ran across the road. You have to be funny. You have to be joyous. You have to tell that joke sometime that's going to be a dud. But it's still being a dad, being a father, being a facilitator. You have to be who you are. This doesn't change the authenticity of your personality. It will increase it, improve it, and sustain it.
Give out your email and phone number.
All right. I want to give you my email address.
Type it in.
You can reach me at the100fathersinc@gmail.com.
Give me that again.
THE, the number 100, fathers, INC@gmail.com.
When can you come back live?
I'll come back live I can't come next Thursday. That's Father's Day. Father's Day weekend.
Okay,
so I
so
have to
you'll be
come
back
to
2
West.
weeks.
I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Okay, hold on.
Absolutely.
100fathersinc@gmail.com.
Gmail.com.
What's your number?
My number is 202. I want you to call my assistant, Thomas Woodson, 240-770-4995. Thomas Woodson, he's assistant to the president.
4995.
Yep. He's standing by.
Mr. Frankl Malone.
And he's a trained master trainer.
Hold on 1 second.
How much time do we have?
It's on you. It's on you.
I want to share some of our articles that we write. Go to the Washington Informer and look up Franklin Malone. I have articles on 7 things that you need to do to raise an exceptional African-American male. There's also an article on spiritually speaking, taking it a day at a time, black on black crime, what we're going to do about it. Then there's another one on sustainable environments. How do we create those and what they are? Just look up my name, go to the Washington Informer, and pick up those articles and read them. I also I'm going to share with you some of our materials. This is a book written with High University by Dr. Tricia Goodley, who is one of our advisors, and I'm one of the contributors. It's called A Guide to Engage Fathers and Men, a resource for social workers and helping professionals. And it's 31 ways how to engage men. We'd like to share this with you. Coming up this week, the 100 fathers are engaged with Father's Day.
Put it right there, square on that screen. Right there, square in the front. There it is.
Right here.
Yeah. You can see it. Yes, sir.
I want y'all to get involved with us. We're on Eventbrite tonight. Go on Eventbrite and put up Father's Month, Father's Day. We're doing 5. We already did the walk June the 2nd for prostate cancer. On the 15th, we'll be at the American Psychological Association with their youth speak, talking to our young people, but listening to them and getting the answers out of our youth. Then on the 15th, we'll be at the United States Congress. We'll be at the Rayburn House office building. We have gifted, talented men that are going to be on that stage. But this is the first time that we put together the Federal Commission for Black Men and Boys and the DC Commission for Fathers, Men and Boys, along with the Attorney General, Carl Racine, and we've also invited Ms. Marie Johns to represent the women. On Saturday the 16th, we'll have breakfast with Dad. We're going to recognize some fathers of the year, fathers in the city. We got a magnificent program from 9 to 11:30. And then on Sunday, Willie Wilson's church with Norman Nixon, we're going to do something that's never been done before. For Father's Day, we are going to march in together into the church. We're going to assemble outside in the community, and then the fathers in the power and the glory. And let me tell you, in Proverbs 17:6, it said, a father is the glory of his children. It's in the Bible. Now, we're going to all walk in together in a powerful lead into the message that Reverend Willie Wilson is going to give on Father's Day. Let me also share with you that Sam Ford, who happens to be on Channel 7, WJLA, is our Father of the Year this year. He has helped us, been with us for 6 years, and he's a great example of what we need for fathers and men to represent out in the community, in the family, and in the school. My name is Frank Malone. It looks like my time is about to be up, but I got so much information and so much to share. I hope you'll come back in 2 weeks. I'm going to have something for you next week to share if you like. I have a video that you'll be able to get. We'll talk about that on facilitation skills. That was on fatherhood.gov on how to be an effective facilitator. And we're going to try to make all of this available for those of you who get back to us and let us know that this was positive for you. The next time we're going to talk about custody, marriage, and split parenting, shared parenting for dads. My name is Frank Malone. My time is up, and I thank you for yours. Be a blessing to somebody.